Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cranked and Ranked, the podcast where two dudes rank things.
That's us. Yeah.
And today, normally we do band or artist discographies and rank them in whatever order we feel is their least good to most good, or worst sometimes. But today, we're actually doing a thing we do sometimes where we take a particular year and we rank our top 10 albums of that particular year. And we've done quite a few. We've done a handful in the 80s and the 90s, but we've only done like one in the 70s so far, I think.
I think it's two. We've done 76 and 77. So we're doing 78 today.
Today is 1978, which was a pretty damn good year for music, and a lot of good things happened that year, but probably the greatest thing that happened that year was I was born in 1978, in March of 1978.
Nice.
So all of these albums that we're talking about, I didn't hear till years later, obviously. Even if I did, I would not have remembered it. Do you have any memories from prior to being like 4 years old or something? Because it seems like everyone I meet, their first memories are all around 4.
I have a few memories from before that, but they largely consist of me eating a sandwich.
That's a lot of my memories too.
Yeah.
Anyway, as usual, it's me, Old Head, your host, and with me as always, Eddie Sparxx. That's
me.
Yeah, Mr. Eddie Sandwich Sparxx. It's our top 10 albums of 1978, and every time we do these, they're very personal lists. So us leaving out an album doesn't necessarily mean, we're saying it's not a good album. It's just, these are our personal top 10 favorites of the year. And if you're, watching this on YouTube, you're more than welcome to put your own top 10 in the comments. In fact, I encourage it. Sometimes there's albums that came out in 1978 that I didn't even know came out in 1978. I think I've found most of the ones that I would be interested in hearing, but you never know. There's always those little gems that are lesser known that eventually see the light of day someday, and everyone's like, "Oh man, this album was in '78. Why didn't I know about it?" But I think the majority of my albums are very well known, and there might be a couple surprises in there also as well. But yeah, I guess we don't have anything. Normally it's like, oh, hey, when did this band come into your life? Nope, there's no bands. There are bands, but these are just albums. We'll talk about the albums when we get to the particular album. So I'm going to stop with all this bullshit and we're going to get into it. So as usual, I let Mr. Eddie Sparxx lead the way and start off the list. And so he's going to start off with his number 10 album of 1978.
Cool. So my number 10 album of 1978 is Powerage by AC/DC.
Oh, okay, cool.
Now, this is a pretty recent addition because all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, I suddenly have the AC/DC bug.
Oh.
Where I am, because the thing is, most of my exposure to AC/DC has been from pop culture, because their music gets used in so many things that it's real easy to get burnt out on the hits.
Yeah.
But I just recently decided, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to pick one of their 70s albums, and it just so happened to be Powerage. And I fucking loved it, because here's the thing. The way I kind of heard it, being such an 80s fan, AC/DC are basically what the hair metal bands were doing, just without any of the production or bells and whistles. They're just badass.
And without ballads.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it is, when you stop and think about it, there's so much glam metal that's like, and I'm a huge fan of that genre, so I say that in an endearing way.
Yeah.
You know, if you stuck a bunch of reverb and chorus on AC/DC, you'd pretty much have a hair band, because there's so many bands like fucking, what are they called? Cinderella, Girls' School, Kicks. They could all be AC/DC songs.
Yeah.
Like, but it just so happened that they came up in a different time.
I mean, they're a band that has been influencing people nonstop since, I mean, it seems like since maybe the early 80s is when you started hearing it in a lot of other bands, but you still hear it today. Fucking Ugly Kid Joe just released a new song, and it sounded exactly like an AC/DC song. And I'm like, well, shit. It's even today, the reach is insane. But I honestly, I don't know Power Edge that much. I don't even remember if there were any big tracks off of that one.
Well, you got Rock and Roll Damnation, Riff Raff, Sin City. Love those songs.
Okay.
Down Payment Blues. It's just really good, no bullshit music, man. I mean, it's just like
meat and potatoes, as they say.
Meat and potatoes. But like, for a long time, I was kind of burnt out on their hits, and I was kind of thinking to myself, well, if this is all AC/DC is, then you kind of only need the hits. But how wrong I was, because here's the thing, like, it's all just badass music, and it's good to have a change of pace once in a while and just go back to the basics and hear what a fucking cranked Marshall stack sounds like, you know?
Yeah, I've honestly never heard an AC/DC album I didn't like, but that being said, they're not a band that I go to all the time, because they were very consistent in their sound and didn't really waver one way or the other from it. And I say didn't like it's past tense. They're still a band. They just put out an album, I think, last year. But yeah, they are one of those bands that they have an album from the 80s that's called Blow Up Your Video. Yeah. And I actually really like it, but it's one that's like kind of never talked about. And I'm like, I almost say that, like, sure, you know the hits, but I almost feel like the albums that, like, when you see it and go, oh, I don't know this one, those are the ones that you should probably go for most of the time.
Yeah. I think as well, I heard somewhere, like, depending on how many albums they had at the time, I think Angus Young, he's got a sense of humor about it, you know, like someone said, you know, there's people that say you've done 10 albums in a row that sound the same. And he goes, that's wrong. We've made 11 albums that sound the same in a row. It's like, but you know, AC/DC does AC/DC better than anyone could. So, and they're such an iconic, influential band. I mean, hell, there's that band Airborne, who are basically AC/DC too. But, you know, I find them enjoyable too. But AC/DC, they're not going to escape the we really like AC/DC thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just, again, like I say, great meat and potatoes, rock and roll for when you can't be fucking bothered with any of the bells and whistles and you just want to hear loud kick-ass shit.
Plus, Power Age is still Bon Scott on vocals.
Yeah.
Which honestly, like, I prefer his vocals. I do like Brian Johnson and a lot of what he did, but there's something about Bon Scott that he just sounds like a sort of unhinged, like a really unpredictable kind of dude. And I'm guessing that's what he was. But just his whole thing was like anti, you know, frontman vocalist. His stuff was just so like almost like bratty in a way. And I just I've always just enjoyed his delivery.
I think Ugly Kid Joe's new song had a lot to do with me checking out, you know, AC/DC again. Yeah, because I heard it and I thought, well, if I like it when Ugly Kid Joe do it, I must like it when the band it sounds like fucking does it. So, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
AC/DC is one of those bands that, like, when I've been out, like, at a bar and there's just a jukebox and somebody randomly puts on any AC/DC song, it immediately makes everything feel like more of a party.
Yeah.
So something to be said for them. Is that all you
Hell
got
yeah,
for
man.
For Power Edge?
Yeah, yeah. Over to
Power
you.
Age? I don't know how it's
Power
pronounced, but
Age, Power Rage.
Power Aid. It's good for electrolytes.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, so
We're
I'm
not
going
sponsored, by the way.
no, no. I would drink a Powerade every episode if we were sponsored by them. I mean,
Yeah.
I probably need to drink things like that.
Hintity hint hint company.
Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody have? I mean, I would be all down for some. I mean, at this point, I'm always drinking coffee or beer. So you would think some company someday is going to latch onto that and be like, oh, maybe we should get him to talk about our stuff. But
Yeah.
right now, I haven't. They look at my numbers and they go, oh, he doesn't have enough views for it to make a fucking difference at all.
You got more than me.
That's very true. But yeah, it's only because you had a lull in making videos, which I've heard a rumor that there might be videos coming. So I mean, if you're watching the video, he's pointing at his green screen is set up behind his drum kit, and that means goodness is happening. So let's move on to mine. Mine's very different. From yours, you're over in Australia. I'm over in England with mine. My number 10 is the album This Year's Model by Mr. Elvis Costello.
Okay.
I brought my records of all. If you're on YouTube, I brought my records for all of these. This is, I believe, the third Elvis Costello album, or it might be the second. I don't know. It's really, I like a lot of Elvis Costello is like you're talking about with AC/DC, where like I've heard all of his hits, and whenever I hear an Elvis Costello song, I like it. But really, This Year's Model is the only album that I've heard that all the way through I just really, really like. That's sort of like, 70s power pop kind of thing. A little bit, it almost sounds a little bit new wave, I guess, at times. But this one's got like so many fucking classic songs on it. I mean, I think, Radio's on here. And I think this is the American version, and unfortunately, it doesn't have I Don't Want to Go to Chelsea, which is on the British version, and that's a fucking great song too. But No Action is a great fucking starter for this album. It's just got so many great songs. I think Pump It Up's on here too. Anyway, so it's like I don't know what really how to if you know Elvis Costello, then you're like, yep. And if not, all I can say is it's just really fun, energetic, poppy rock music. And I've always really liked Elvis Costello's voice. He sounds very unique, and it's just a really fun album. It's for my number 10, I don't have a whole lot to say about it. I'm just like, yeah, it's literally an album that I don't really have a lot picking it apart, except for you put it on and it's a cool vibe and it's a fun vibe. And that's about all there is to it. So that's my number 10. Yeah. Album good. More coffee.
Cool. So yeah, that Elvis Costello is a guy I need to check out a lot more of. Yeah. Cause I like power pop. So let's go.
Yeah.
But yeah. So my number 9, jumping back into metal territory, with Judas Priest's Killing Machine.
All right. And if I'm remembering right, didn't they release 2 albums in 1978?
They did, and I believe this is the better of the 2.
Okay, cool. And Killing Machine, which later would become known as
Hellbent for Leather.
Hellbent for Leather. See? I'm not even a Judas Priest fan, and I know some of these facts because we did our ranking a year ago. Fuck, it's been a long time.
I think that was the first trilogy we did, wasn't it?
It very well may have been.
So that's it was a big 2 years ago. Damn, dude, where's it going, dude?
But I like this album as well.
Yeah, it's one of their better 70s albums for me. I'm an 80s. I'm a 82 to 90 kind of Priest guy. That's where my kind of top 5 albums sit.
I think we've discovered that we're both 80s Judas Priest people. If I was going to be a Judas Priest fan, I'm a fan of a lot of the albums from the 80s.
See, that's the thing. I appreciate and respect the legacy and influence of their 70s stuff, but I think to my ears, having discovered them after the fact, I think they got better. And I feel like there were other bands in the 70s doing what they were doing a little better. But then by the time they got to the 80s, Priest really shines guitar wise and whatnot. But yeah, when it comes to Killing Machine, I think Killing Machine is a better produced album than Stained Class. Stained Class has some great songs on it, but the thin production affects my enjoyment of the album. So
Agreed,
yeah, like this is probably my favorite 70s Priest album next to Sin After Sin. It's got a really cool bad attitude. It's got metal mainstays like Delivering the Goods and Hellbent for Leather. One time I was in this is really cool. I was sat in a pub called The Mermaid out in kind of the Newquay area. It's on a beach. It's a really cool place. But clearly they had a rocker working the jukebox that night because we had Delivering the Goods, and immediately after it was the Pantera cover of Planet Caravan. And I was just sat there eating this like surf and turf meal thinking, this is fucking rad, dude. Whoever's doing the tunes knows what's up. Yeah. I mean, it's a good catchy hard rocking album, and I even think it's better than British Steel. So
I think I had it ranked higher than that as well on my ranking.
Yeah, they have quite an up and down discography, like consistency wise, but when they hit, they do really hit.
Yeah.
So with that, I mean, I don't have an awful lot else to say other than it's a really cool album.
Awesome. It's nice, for everybody out there, all the metalheads that watch us or listen to us regularly, it's good to get some Priest on there. Cause I know there's always somebody that's like, why didn't you mention Priest? And there we go. We did. Now going back over to me, where I'm going to literally move things away from heavy music again. Cause that's how I do. Is anything in here actually heavy? I think there's one album in my top 10 that be actually called heavy, maybe.
Damn.
But yeah. Anyway, my number 9 is "You're Gonna Get It" by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Nice.
Now, I did a video 3 years ago where I did my top 5 of 1978, and this was in my top 5. And now things have rearranged to where this is number 9 in my top 10. And it's only because like we'll get to why, but there's some other ones that I was introduced to, and other ones that I went, oh, I didn't include this last time because of this, but now I have 10 spots. So this got pushed to number 9, but this is a fucking great album. I mean, it's got I Need to Know is in my top 10 Tom Petty songs ever made. It's also got Listen to Her Heart if you're looking for the big hits. But the rest of this album it's not chock full of hits. And actually, it's not an album that people talk about a lot because it sits right in between the debut album, which, is important because it's the first Tom Petty album. And then is it fucking whatever the fucking third album is called, which Damn the Torpedoes.
Oh, yeah.
Damn the Torpedoes, which that's the fucking one that broke huge for him. And this one is the one in the middle that has less hits, and it's a little bit more of a laid back affair for most of the album. And so people look at it and go, well, this is not a go-to Tom Petty album. And I'm like, well, that's absolutely true, but it's a Tom Petty album, and he's an artist that, in my opinion, never did anything that wasn't high quality, even up to his dying day. Every album that dude put out, I look at it and go, fuck, I would never be able to do anything anywhere near that good. And so You're Gonna Get It is just one of those ones that it gets forgotten because it's not one of the biggies, but it's a great album. And Tom Petty is one of the greatest songwriters ever, in my opinion. So, but other things ended up coming into my list, and it pushed Mr. Petty down to number 9. And so that leads us to number 8 for you, sir.
Cool. So here we go. With the band on your shirt.
Yes.
We have
which is Rush for the people listening at home.
Yep. I've gone with Hemispheres.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like what it's great. You know,
Spoiler alert, this is in my list somewhere.
Yeah. I'd never have guessed. But yeah, do you know what I love about this album is
everything.
Yeah, but it always made me laugh. I always got to make this joke. Rush is one of the only bands that I can look at the track listing, and it's an EP's worth of tracks, but it's an LP length album because it's only got 4 songs on it. But one of them is almost 20 minutes, and the other one is approaching the 10-minute mark with 2 shorter songs in the middle. I mean, what can I say, man? Every moment on this is killer.
Yeah.
From the moment you put the fucking needle down to the moment it comes off, you are just hit with musical genius at every turn. Like these, and to think it's only 3 dudes, man. Like, I mean, I know, obviously there's overdubs in a studio, but they made it work live too, which is like, God, dude. I mean,
honestly, like I don't know. I don't know if we've ever really talked about this. I'm sure we have, but I don't give 2 shits about a band being able to pull off this stuff live. As a matter of fact, I would love it if they throw in everything and all the bells and whistles in the studio album to make it the most unique album they can. And then it's so cool to hear sort of repurposed, stripped down versions of the songs live. So Rush ended up like using, keys and other stuff and triggers that they would use in order to like add some of these things in, which is fine. But even if they hadn't, I'm like, that doesn't matter, because a good song is a good song. But I'm one of those people that I really don't like it when a band just completely recreates the exact same thing on the album live. So I would prefer the album to be grandiose and the biggest, boldest representation of those songs, and then bring them to me live in the stripped down, like dudes playing instruments version. Unless you're the kind of band that hires a string section and a choir and whatever. Yeah. It's like, I don't know why this reminded me of this, but when in 2003, 2, it was early on. I went to go see the Strokes. And this was before the Strokes album had ever even come out in America. There was so much hype over this band that they sold out a big ass venue, and their album hadn't been out in America yet. It was just out in England. And and I had already heard it. Like, I had a friend that got an import version, and we were really into what the Strokes were doing. But I just remember walking away from their show and being like, they literally like stood there and played identical versions of the songs that are already on the album. And I went, I mean, it was cool to be there and say, like, I saw the Strokes and they were cool. They're great dudes and like a cool band. I'm not like a super big fan or anything, but I just remember leaving going, so what is my problem here? Maybe they could have made the album better, and then the live performance would have been cooler because it had been just 4 dudes stripped down doing their thing. But that's a good example of just like, if you're giving me the identical thing, it's kind of not worth my money. And so that's just my opinion. How do you feel about that?
I think you're right. I think, the purpose of going to see a band live is to see, something different, You're so used to hearing it as is. So to experience it in the moment, you expect a different thing. So when you get, verbatim, it does, it's kind of like how Metallica will play certain songs faster or slower depending on like how they're received by the fans. So like, I was been re-listening to the Mexico City live Shit Binge and Purge show. And I was listening to Whiplash and I thought, fuck, man, like they took that classic and just gave them exactly what they wanted to hear, just an even faster, more intense version live.
Yeah. But and that's when they were letting, like, Jason was doing like the 3rd verse or something like that.
Yeah. Absolutely killer.
Yeah. And they do that thing too, where they add different like flourishes and accents that aren't on the album when they play stuff live. And some of it's just like over time has become the way that they play a particular song. honestly, live stuff. I mean, because it's Metallica. It's weird. It's 1978. We're talking about Metallica.
Yeah.
But that's what we do. It's like there are things that they do live that have become such a part of the song that when I hear the studio versions, my brain does the things from the live version. The thing that I always do is that whenever I hear The Memory Remains, when it's about to go into the solo, I always go, Mr. Hammett. Because he always says, Mr. I don't know if he always says it, but he said it in enough live stuff where he went, Mr. Hammett. And I'm like, it needs to just be in the song. Anyway, what were we at? What were we on?
Yeah, we were talking about Hemispheres by Rush.
Oh, shit. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, La Villa Strangiato, that closer. God damn, dude.
Yeah.
Like, shit, man.
Probably one of my favorite guitar solos in that album from Alex Lifeson. Just it's the buildup of that solo and that little quiet part building up. I love some of that shit. Just gives me the chills every time, just even thinking about it. It's so great.
Yeah, wild stuff. Man, I'm always like stumped for what to say. I mean, you know, Rush don't need me to fillet them for the next 10 minutes. They're fucking Rush, you know. So if you haven't heard it, listen to it.
Yeah.
If you're watching this show, you have probably heard it.
Yeah. And it's obviously it also runs into that thing of like Geddy's voice is sometimes a breaking point or a whatever you call it, point of contention or something that keeps people away from listening to them. Which is strange because I really like his voice and I like how it goes with the music, but you know, it is what it is. I
used to do this running gag. Sorry, when we were in college, I used to do this running gag where whenever we got given like the studio headphones, I would put on like black aviators and do the Tom Sawyer video.
Oh yeah.
Like, what you say about his company is what you say about society. You know, it's just a really exaggerated Geddy Lee. But I'm a big Geddy Lee fan as well. I think he's got a very unique, identifiable timbre to his voice, and I think that's a great fucking thing to have.
What about the voice of Geddy Lee? How did it get so high? I wonder if he speaks like an ordinary guy. I met him, and he does. Well, you're my fact-checking cuz. Anyway, anybody know that song?
That had a fucking vibe, bro.
That's by a band called Pavement. I think that song is called Stereo. Something like that. Anyway, that's it. You know, I like me some Pavement. Anyway, that's once again not the 70s. That is I think early 90s, that album. Anyway, let's get more rockin'.
Okay.
This is an album that I thought about not including it because it has like a sister album or a brother album that's also here, but I'm like, fuck it, whatever. I'm including it because I love this album. The Paul Stanley solo album, Paul Stanley Kiss solo album. This is one of those ones that some of these songs on here I love more than Kiss songs. Just, I mean, I really do think Wouldn't You Like to Know Me?
Yeah.
Fuck. Maybe like Love, not about Love and Change, Goodbye. God damn, there's so many fucking great songs on this. And then, of course, you know, you've got things like Hold Me, Touch Me, you know, which is a little bit cheeseball, which is a big reason why this is at number, where are we at? 7 and or 8. This is why this is at number 8 and not higher, because of the quality of some of these songs. I'm just like, fuck, man. Paul Stanley was just like, oh, I get to do my own album. Fuck all of you guys. I'm just gonna. Well, here's my really great material. And so I had to include the Paul Stanley solo album just because it's insane that, you know, I know that some people don't like Kiss at all. That's fine. You're weird. But the ones who do, it's just the fact that, like, you know, if you're a fan and you're just like, oh, there's all this great Kiss stuff, and then they just decided to fuck off and all make solo albums, and all of them have qualities that I really, really like. And so that's I don't know. That's interesting. Anyway, and which eventually will a little nod to people out there. There will be a video that we do, or a podcast episode we do, that has something to do with those 4 solo albums. But yeah, Paul Stanley solo album's fucking great. A huge blast, some great rock tunes, and just memorable sing along kind of shit. I love it. So that's my number 8.
It's one of those things that just further reinforces Paul Stanley's big dick energy, because the thing is, straight up, this motherfucker, the front man already of the hottest band in the world, Kiss, goes off, makes a Kiss album by himself, and it rules. You know, it's just, that's one of the best. You know what? Fuck it, I can do this. I am God. You know. But yeah.
And honestly, that's around the time, like around this time, like he's I think starting at around 78 into up until the late 80s, like his singing abilities were fucking insane. Like he just became such a great singer. I mean, he's still a good singer, but you know what I mean? Like that was his prime. His prime was around that time where he just sounded so great.
That's the thing, like, as well, you just to tie it back to the Metallica thing we were talking about, you go to a Metallica show and you get, at a fucking Paul Stanley show, you get,
you just recently saw Kiss. Did he do that live? Did he do like a repeat after me? It's so weird when he does it.
But I was just in awe of the entire show, man.
Oh, I bet.
It was, I doubt in terms of spectacle I will ever see anything quite like that again. Like, as cool as it was to see Metallica when I saw them, you know, Kiss are a theatrical live act. So, you know, so cool. And, you know, Tommy Thayer did this, like, fucking guitar solo where he shot down these fucking UFOs. Shit was rad.
Holy shit, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. Real quick, I'm going to camp out here as well. Okay. So they come down on these platforms, right? Sometimes said platforms raise up. There's screens on the bottom of the platforms, and when they face towards the crowd, there's screens on them, and the choreography involved in Tommy remembering which of the UFOs to shoot down, because there's like 9 of the fuckers, right? And he's like, and it's like shooting these aliens down, and it's like, what? I mean, I know it sounds pantomime, I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but in that moment, I felt like a fucking 9-year-old. I was like, I know
there are certain things that, like, if you take things too seriously, it's like, what kind of a boring ass life do you have? It's like, sometimes just try to enjoy yourself. Jeez. Yeah. I'm probably not talking to anybody listening to us, because I feel like we got a lot of people that like us are just here to have a good time. Not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. So
don't need nothing but a good time.
That's true. So we're moving on to your number 7 album of 1978.
Well, this is a really cool segue, because one of the major crushes my girlfriend has is Paul Stanley. Possibly my biggest crush of anyone ever is Ann Wilson from the band Heart.
Okay.
And I have gone for my number 7 with the album Dog and Butterfly by Heart.
Okay, I don't know if I know this album.
It's really cool. Like, opens up with this like fake live intro, and then you get this absolutely rocking song, Cook with Fire. You get High Time, High Jinks. Straight On is an absolute banger. Got a really vibey chorus, and it's like kind of, it's a little bit Fleetwood Mac-y, but a bit more rockin'. But there's a song at the end of this album called Mistral Wind, straight up like a heavier Led Zeppelin. Like,
heavier Led Zeppelin. Okay.
Yeah, like this song, when I heard it, I was like, this sounds fucking heavy for, you know, a band that just hit me with a folk ballad, you know? Because like that's the cool thing about Heart, is that especially in their 70s stuff, you could get like the Zeppelin-y sort of folk stuff, but then they would bust out a riff that was even heavier than, you know, anything Zeppelin did. Like, you know, Barracuda is an example.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dog and Butterfly is a really cool album, and it has a few like jangly, chorusy, clean moments on it.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I love when rock bands do that shit. I'm a slut for the chorus, but you know, the Wilson sisters, just yeah, damn. But yeah,
Nice.
I just want to take a moment as well to say that Ann Wilson's most recent solo album is really cool.
Okay, yeah, I didn't even know she put one out until you mentioned it to me.
Yeah, it's got like a Roger Dean artwork to it. You said it looked like a Yes album, and
Yeah.
you're right, because it's same artist. But yeah, I think it's called Fierce Bliss, and basically sums up the vibe there. So I'm gonna hand it over to you before I get a little horned up.
Cool. I'm gonna bring it back over to England for a debut album from a band. I guess this falls more in the power pop world, but not so much. Maybe you let me know. But this is a band that actually like has a history with my hometown, and I'll get into that and this particular album. My number 7, the debut album from the Police, which is called Outlandos d'Amour or something like that. Because I do not speak French. I think that's what that is. That's French, isn't it? Or Latin or something. But like the first Police album, I think all of their albums are good, but they literally like blew their wad all in the first album. Because this says like Next to You, So Lonely, Roxanne, Can't Stand Losing You, Truth Hits Everybody. Like all those songs are on here.
Damn.
And it's just such a well done album. Like what would you consider their music? It's not, it has some power pop qualities. I wouldn't even call it new wave. It's got a little bit of raga in there.
I always, you know, whenever I think of the Police, I am kind of tempted to lump them in with the new wave thing, but that's only because they're so much of everything else, and it's a convenient timepiece to call them part of an era. But you know, there's elements of punk, there's elements of new wave, there's elements of reggae, there's a lot of stuff going on in the Police. And just to, you know, I've been replaying all of the original Spyro games, and Stuart Copeland made all the music for those games, which is really cool. But yeah, I definitely need to dive deeper into them as a band, but everything I've heard, I think, is incredibly strong.
Well, you know? I mean, we'll rank them at some point, but I think they only have 5 albums. It's not very much that they ended up doing, but I just love the thing that's always made me a Police fan since, you know, I first heard them was it really made me listen to how vocal melodies are written over music, because Sting's vocal melodies are some of the most memorable things ever written to me. And somebody else could have come to that music and done something a little straightforward, and it would have probably still been pretty good. But he comes up with these ways, these lines that just go all over the place in the notes. So when I started writing my own music, I've never been able to get anywhere close to what he would do, but I would always write something and go, that could probably be more interesting. I've got more room to play with this. And so Sting, I mean, you know, you can say what you want. I don't give 2 shits about Sting anymore because he makes music for I mean, I was about to say middle-aged people, but I'm pretty much I'm 1 year away from being considered middle-aged. But I just think that there's a certain point when you realize you're finally old is when you're like, you know, that Sting solo stuff's actually pretty good. And you just get a fucking rubber stamp that says old. And but the Police, all that shit, like so much good music, and that first album is just insane. How fucking great it is. But my top six, they have I'm excited to get to some of these.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say how they're related to my hometown of Austin, Texas. So the story goes, and this is from Sting's mouth. The album came out and it wasn't doing very well at all. And then a radio station in Austin, Texas started playing Roxanne a lot. And then from there, it started to catch on all over the country. And so, he's been gone on record and saying, like, this radio station in Austin, Texas is pretty much the reason why we broke and started our career.
Wow.
And I'm like, hell yeah. Because I mean, it makes me happy because you mentioned Texas and I'm like, oh man, if they're responsible for music, it's probably a bunch of shit. But and I'm saying that as a resident here. Like most of the music that people mention when they mention Texas, I go, oh God, I need to move. But we've got some good things that happened here. And one of those things was we are responsible for breaking the Police. And that's a proud thing for me. I'm going to put that on my list of like 8 things that I'm proud of for being from Texas. Anyway, that's my number 7.
Awesome. So my number 6 is, now I'm gonna take you to a little bit of the prog zone. It's not a crazy prog album, but it has its moments. It's also a very accessible album at the same time, and that is Breathless by Camel.
Okay, you literally you just said random words.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, okay, Breathless by Camel. And I don't think I've ever, I mean, maybe if I saw the album cover, I might know it, but I don't think I've ever heard it.
Yeah, it's I had a friend, he's still my friend. I went to college with a guy that was deep into the 70s prog stuff. Like we're talking like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, all that stuff. Like, and he was the guy to go to for recommendations of really far out prog stuff. But he was listening to a song on this album called Echoes, and he thought, damn, this actually reminds me of something that, you might like. Well, so I was, or Eddie. Sorry, I keep doxing myself, man. My name is Eddie. My name is Jeff. But yeah, it's a really cool soaring guitar part at the start, but there's a lot of really nice, pretty beautiful moments on this album. The song Breathless, Starlight Ride, Rainbow's End, they're all incredibly nice sounding songs, and it does have its moments where it goes into more proggy, like, wow, okay, where is this heading with songs like The Sleeper? But you're saying
it has accessible qualities as well. Like it's
it's
not that prog that it seems like it wants to alienate everybody. It's a welcoming prog.
Yeah, it's much more. You could hear some of these songs on the radio, they're
Gotcha.
That sort of thing. But for a sizable chunk of this album, it's just really nice. It's got a really nice chilled out vibe, and I like that about it. I actually need to listen to more of their albums, but this is the one that I've definitely gravitated towards the most. But it's kind of a hodgepodge of all the styles of kind of rock at the time. It has its moments where a riff will come in and down, and I'll be like, oh, okay. But then they'll hit you with something that could be in a more whimsical part of fucking Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and it's like, it's moments like that make me really enjoy albums like this, because you, on the one hand, are really relaxed, but you're kind of secretly on the edge of your seat, like, oh, what's the next song gonna be like? So yeah, that's my number 6, Breathless by Camel.
I'll have to check that out. It does not ring any kind of bell at all. So that's interesting. All right, so for my number 6, this is the newest addition to my 70s favorites, and it made it to number 6. I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there because you're going to be happy about this one.
Yes,
the self-titled album from Toto, and it's because we did the ranking of Toto. Now I have to admit, I don't, most Toto albums I don't really want to go back and listen to. This one, on the other hand, I've listened to it a lot because it's got just some fucking amazing songs on it. But at the same time, the songs that don't immediately jump out like, oh, this is great. There's a vibe to the whole fucking album that just feels so good. And a lot of it is very like yacht rocky. You know, there's a little bit of that on here. But just like on their own, I'll Supply the Love, Manuela Run, Girl Goodbye, Hold the Line. Those 4 songs all should have been hit songs. Everyone knows Hold the Line. I mean, it's a 70s classic, but it's just, this is like one of the things, like from doing Cranked and Ranked, I found this album. I'm just like, man, this is like one of the best albums of the 70s to me. Because it's just got such a great, I mean, we talked about it in the thing. These are all like studio musicians, professionals. So it's like dudes that know what they're doing really well, all coming together and writing amazing songs and performing them amazingly. And it's also not, it's got like bits in there that I would equate on the prog side of things, although there's no way you would equate them with prog, but just like little elements. But those elements come from the fact that these dudes are just insane musicians. Yeah. And so just the fact that like I had never listened to this album in full until like a year ago or whatever, whenever we did Toto. And now it's just one that I'm just like, this is just such a fucking good album. So my number 6 is Toto, the self-titled Toto album.
Warms my heart that was my doing. Yeah,
yeah, it absolutely was.
Awesome. So I'm going to take now over to a band that we covered not long ago. Okay. And that is the album Don't Look Back by Boston.
Aha, yep.
And there's a reason it is slap bang in the middle of this list. You can't fucking go wrong with 70s Boston. Yeah, there is just something about these first 2 albums, if you're looking at it objectively, these first 2 albums are must-owns for a 70s rock fan. Like, God damn, this one might not have the hits that the debut has, but it still has all of that vibe. Like, it's still in that, massive guitar harmonies, big organ parts, huge soaring vocals. In Don't Look Back, it's easy. Feeling Satisfied, like
Feeling Satisfied is one of the best Boston songs to me. I love it.
Yeah. You just can't go wrong. Don't Look Back, more like Can't Go Wrong.
I'm glad that that was in your list, because that one would have been like number 11 for me. It was barely outside the top 10. But yeah, we talked about that album very recently, so I guess we don't need to go too much more into it.
I definitely think it's got the best artwork of any Boston album, though. It
is very cool.
I like the hovering above a planet with searchlights and their giant crystals, and there's grass, and it's just a really cool image, But I'm gonna let you over to you.
All right, moving back over to the world of power pop, because like apparently I'm in love with it for especially 1978. An absolute classic album. So nice. the third Cheap Trick album, Heaven Tonight, which is this has like Surrender, one of the biggest Cheap Trick songs on it, but it's got like so many fucking great songs on it. I mean, even just going into On the Top of the World, the second song, but it also has Auf Wiedersehen, which Anthrax covered at one point. But it's just, this is like, to me, when it comes to Cheap Trick, this is kind of when they nailed it, their sound, because I think that, when we did 1977, I talked about their first 2 albums, which are good, really good albums, but have like a little some shortcomings. I think, and then with Heaven Tonight, everything just seemed like it gelled. The production is there, the songwriting is there, and even the album after, Dream Police, it to me is also one where I think they just everything was gelling with those guys. And it's just like just classic fun sing along anthems, and so much fucking energy. And I love that Cheap Trick were such a weird band to try to pin down, because they had power pop elements, but like they were like a punk band, in many ways too. And at the same time, you had like the 70s good looking frontman kind of thing going on too. They were like such a unique package of what they were doing. And God, it's just Heaven Tonight's just such a fucking cool album. And I don't know. it's fucking great. It made it to my top 5. Nice. So that's where we stand, top 5. And now we're into the top 4.
Top 4. And I'm going to jump back over to an album you've already brought up, but I couldn't not have it here. It's the Paul Stanley solo album from 1978. Mm-hmm. I mean, Paul went and did a Kiss album by himself and nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight You Belong to Me and Wouldn't You Like to Know Me were enough to give it a place on this list.
Oh God, Wouldn't You Like to Know Me is fucking great.
Yeah, I know. It should be such a bigger song, in my opinion.
I agree.
That is a song that should have been huge. Absolutely no fucking reason as to why it shouldn't have. I love this album, but like you, there is also another album from this batch.
Yeah.
That, we like just a little bit more. But I mean, Paul Stanley's solo album is great.
Yeah, it is. It is great.
I'm going to bring up all of the other tracks as well that I haven't mentioned yet. Like Move On, Ain't Quite Right, Together is One, or Take Me Away. It's All Right, Hold Me, Touch Me. Just Love in Chains. I love Love in Chains.
Yeah.
And Goodbye. Oh, it's all just really catchy, great hard rock. And it went to show that Paul Stanley was more than just a pretty face and a good front man.
I mean, for many years, even into the 80s, he was the driving force in that band. So, I mean, you got to give that guy some credit. Like that's the thing, is that like, as much as you want to talk shit about, Gene Simmons and the commercialization of Kiss and all of this stuff. Paul Stanley is a dude that's just been true to who he is since day one. And has never backed down. Like he's just had this drive to keep going, and it's inspiring, really. And then they're wrapping it up as Kiss, even though I think their farewell tour still has like 2 years on it. So they'll get there eventually. But he still does other stuff. He has his like soul band that he does on the side. Paul's great.
Paul is great. Right.
So now we're getting into the top 4. Mm-hmm. Now, I almost feel like my top 4 is just a real mushed together number 1 that's just sliced into 4 pieces. Cool. It's really hard to rank. It's really hard to rank these. But I did it. And my number 4, Van Halen, self-titled album. Yeah, number 4. Number 4 is Van Halen.
Damn.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, because once you're gonna get to a point. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Like I'm looking at the albums that are here. I'm like, yeah, these are all like absolutely fucking killer albums. Wow. And then Van Halen's self-titled album is my number 4. Do I even need to like you? I love how like on so many albums from the 70s, the track list is out of order, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Did they write it out of order? But it's like, you really got me. Jamie's Crying, On Fire, Running with the Devil, I'm the One, Ain't Talking About Love. It's not until you get to like Little Dreamer that I go, okay, that one's not as amazing, but it's still really good. And then it jumps right back to Feel Your Love Tonight, Atomic Punk, Eruption, Ice Cream Man. What the fuck, man?
Yeah.
This is like, I'm preaching to the choir with probably everyone that's listening to this, but it's like one of the best debut albums ever made. Another one of the best debut albums ever made is coming up in my list. And I think that it's better than this one. It's a personal choice. But this Van Halen album it's got the reach and influence that it has, and it left, because you were talking about like the 80s rock bands being influenced by certain bands, and I think that Van Halen is another one of those bands, that are, they're so much responsible for shit that happened in the 80s. Some of you'd be like, well, that's lame, but I'm like, no, it's great. There was a lot of fun music that came out in the 80s.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what you want. You want rock and roll that's not taking itself too seriously, and is, giving you like, 100% badass all the fucking time. And that was Van Halen. So yeah, number 4, Van Halen 1. Although I guess at the time it was just called Van Halen, but now I think people refer to it as Van Halen 1. But
cool.
Number 3.
Whew, I mean, it's all up in the air now. I was expecting that one to have cracked the top 3 at least.
Yeah.
Damn. Wow. Okay, so my number 3 is Ace Frehley's solo album.
Sweet.
So
let's go ahead and put these together, because it's also my number 3.
Nice.
Ace Frehley solo album. I love this album. But I'll let you go first talking about it.
Yeah, like Ace went and did a harder edged album than Paul. And while you could argue that Paul's is catchier, I have a special place in my heart for Ace, man. Like, Rip It Out, Speeding Back to My Baby, New York Groove, like, they're all great, fun songs. I mean, I know New York Groove is a cover, but Snowblind.
New York Groove to me is the worst song on the album, and I love it, but it's like the one that I go, I could do without this one. But the rest of the album is fucking killer.
Oh, man, Ozone, What's on Your Mind, I'm in Need of Love, Wiped Out, Fractured Mirror, like, shit, man. Like,
his songwriting on this album is so great, because it's not, so much of it is not, some of it's very conventional and some of it's very much not. Where like the way that a song ended up, just listen to the song Wiped Out. Like, there's no real like chorus to it, and it gets a little bit psychedelic kind of, with a heavy ass riff. But I just feel like Ace was like finally able to be like, look, I'm just going to make these songs into what they become out of my brain. And he just had an amazing backing band, and they're just such great fucking rock songs all over this album.
Yeah, man. And like, Ace is probably my favorite Kiss member. I just, I always loved his, kind of energy. And, I always found his like uncontrollable laughing quite endearing, even though it pissed the band off a lot. I always liked that he was kind of the prankster of the band. And I also feel like he was a little bit of an underdog character, because he was the last guy in the band to start singing. And when he did start singing, he had some bangers. It's just unfortunate that, he would depart not long after that started taking off. But, he had his own projects, which were also really cool. But this album, man, I mean, there's like a split camp, isn't there, where it's like Ace and Peter did the better of the two.
Who says Peter? Who says Peter did the better of the two?
Sorry, I fucked up. I meant Paul. God damn it. P names. Sorry. Yeah. Ace and Paul did the better of the two. But like, I find enjoyable qualities in all of them, like you say.
Absolutely.
But it's these two that are the, like, if you want rock and you want a catchy one and you want a rockin' one, boom.
Like I love the Ace Frehley album so much that personally speaking, if I ever am just like, I want to listen to some Kiss and I want it to be 70s Kiss, I probably will go to this album before any actual Kiss album. Wow. And I love all of those Kiss albums, but there's just something about this album and the vibe of it, that just the carefree, who gives a fuck badassness of it It's a little bit odd too. And so I feel like maybe I kind of hone in on that aspect of it, that it's not, there's something about it that you can tell it comes from the brain of a guy that's a little bit kooky. And, it's just it's so fucking great. It's an amazing album. And it makes sense. It's the one that a lot of people say is the best out of the four. And I absolutely agree. And I love it.
Nice.
That brings us all around to number two now. Holy shit.
Cool. For you. So yeah, my number two is one that you have mentioned, and that is the debut album from Toto.
Yeah.
3 words. Hold the line.
Yeah.
I personally, in my humble opinion, hand on my heart, Hold the Line is a top 5 song of all time in any genre ever.
I mean, it's great. It's a great song.
I firmly believe every single time I hear that opening snare hit, blah, bing, ding, 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 ding,
yeah.
ding, 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 chills every time without fail, exactly the same as the first time I heard it. Yeah. And that's only one of the songs.
It is weird that song has a much more 70s rock quality, and most of the album doesn't really have that. It's not, it's not as heavy.
Yeah. This is definitely like the big heavy moment on the album. And I like that it's kind of the penultimate track, because you've still got Angela after this one, which is this really cool power ballad, but still quite heavy. Sorry. Child's Anthem into I'll Supply the Love is an excellent album opener.
Yeah.
Georgie Porgy, Manuela Run, You Are the Flower. I've really grown to love You Are the Flower so much. Like that that opening piano, ding 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 ding, with the flute and everything. It's like, damn. It for some reason it gets the riff face out of me, but it's like, oh, this is groovy. Girl Goodbye, like you said, killer song. Taking It Back is a really cool vibey one. Rockmaker is fun. Whole album is just it's a super group of session players who are all on top of their game.
Yeah.
And the end result is as such, because this thing kicks ass from start to finish. It's high up in my Toto ranking. It's probably not my favorite, but it's definitely
it wasn't your number one, so
nah. But that's because I'm a slut for mid-80s AOR.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that said, we've already had a big old chat about this one. So I'm gonna hand it over to you for your number two, and then we can do our number ones.
Okay. So this is a really important album for me, and not so that we're literally in like, between Ace Frehley, this album, and my number one. These are like desert island albums for me.
Wow.
And this one is, in my opinion, it's in the top 5 of the best debut albums ever made. And I absolutely love it, every second of it. The self-titled album from the Cars.
Nice.
It is one of the best albums ever made. And it never loses any of its charm. And the production on this is so fucking good. It sounds amazing. The fact that it's like 1978, you still put it on today, you put on some headphones and you're just like, holy shit, this sounds fucking good. But track listing, Good Times Roll, My Best Friend's Girl, Just What I Needed. That's just the first 3 songs right there. And then, of course, side B, you've got songs like You're All I've Got Tonight and Moving in Stereo. It is, every song is a banger, and they're obviously more on the new wave side of things, but I love the Cars. The Cars is like up there with like what I think are one of the best bands ever. And except for when they like get back together, they got back together like after Benjamin Orr died and did another album. And I'm like, look, I love Rick Ocasek. That's the weird thing about the Cars. If you're not a really big Cars fan, you probably think all the songs that you really love it's Rick Ocasek singing them, but it's probably not. It's Benjamin Orr that sings them. But for some reason, Rick Ocasek became the face of the band because he's the oddest looking guy in the band, and so everyone's like, oh. So I remember when Rick Ocasek died a handful of years ago, and people would just like posting all these songs, and I kept commenting, being like, "That's a Benjamin Orr song." quit assigning these songs to Rick Ocasek. Anyway, I love the Cars. I love this first album. It's just one of my favorite albums ever made, and it's so good. Eventually, we got to rank the Cars albums. And if you don't know, you'll get into it. You'll know what I'm talking about when you start listening to all their stuff, because it's all of it's fucking great. But that's just a killer debut. So that's my number 2.
Cool. So my number 1.
Drum roll. Where I already know what it is.
Yeah, it's it's Van Halen's debut album, man. I kind of gave it away with the 4.
Yeah, you did give it away.
Yeah. My poker face today hasn't been my best work.
That's all right. It's not like any of these are big reveals where people are like, oh my God. Yeah. It's like, if you listen to us, I think a lot of these albums aren't really that surprising.
Yeah, especially for long-time listeners, but like
for the peanut butter platypuses.
Yes. But like, you talk about changing the fucking game, man. Like, this album is the absolute definition of that. This changed the direction of guitar-driven music forever. Nothing sounded like Van Halen's debut at the time of its release. Totally sonically unique beast of an album. And, Eddie Van Halen is the iconic, guitar shredder. Like, he's effectively the first one to do it on a big scale. But I mean, you've got fucking Alex Van Halen, killer drummer. You've got David Lee Roth singing, absolutely wild, insanely good frontman, and Michael Anthony. I mean,
they really were like one of the best rock bands ever.
Yeah,
like that, and I mean, even let's give Sammy his due too, because when Sammy was in the band, they still were an amazing rock band, even if you don't prefer that stuff or whatever,
I mean, wow. I mean, when I think about it, you've got bands who have standout members. Van Halen, every single member of that band is crucial.
Yeah.
It's such an incredible collection of people all in the same place, and they all shine as a collective. Even if Eddie Van Halen is the spotlight shredding guy, when they come together and start playing a song, name me any bands, you could definitely name a few as iconic, but they are up there. Way up there.
Did you? I actually never saw any footage of them when they were touring with Wolfgang on bass. So I can't really say an opinion on that, but all I know is that particular thing, like Michael Anthony, like his backing vocals are part of the thing that I love about Van Halen.
Yeah.
And his bass playing, he's a good bass player, but just like he could sing really high and complement everything that Dave or Sammy was doing. And so when they kicked him out or whatever happened with them, and then Wolfgang came in, I'm like, well, it's Wolfgang seems like a cool guy, but I'm just like, I really wasn't interested in hearing what they were doing, because I'm like, I don't know, that just feels wrong. It feels wrong to me. It feels like a very important part of the recipe all of a sudden was taken out when it still was available. That's literally like making like some cookies and then leaving out the flour, but the flour is just like sitting over there on the counter, and just like, I'm tired of that flour. Just throwing something else. I'm like, what's wrong? The cookies aren't going to come out the right way. But I love cookies, by the way.
I'd never have guessed.
Anyway, did you hear any of the stuff they did when they toured that last time?
I can't say that I have. I might have
Okay.
done a long time ago, but
Okay.
yeah. That being said, I mean, it's fucking Van Halen, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So to answer your question, is there a band as iconic as Van Halen? Yes, there is.
Hey!
That band is called Rush, and this Hemispheres is my number one album of 1978 because it's a fucking masterpiece. And so it's the same thing. I agree with you 100% on Van Halen, but also Alex Lifeson, Geddy Lee, Neil Peart. You cannot replace any of those elements. But just like you said, this is nothing but complete classics all the way through. And just the fact that, like, you know, we got side one, and it's the last time they ever did like a big ass, like side long epic prog thing. And the Cygnus X1, it's just a fucking great song all the way through. But then even the beginning of side two with Circumstances and The Trees, like both really fucking great songs. And then wrapping it up, I would have been fine with just that. They could have just had some sort of weird acoustic interlude at the end, and then that would have been it. And it'd probably still be my number one of 78. But then they put La Via Strangiato at the end of it. And it's one of those songs. I remember, like, I was on a road trip with my family, and we have like a mix that just randomly plays stuff in the car. And I don't know if my wife had ever heard La Via Strangiato before, and it just came up on the mix. And I didn't say a word. We're just driving down the highway. That song is playing and it ends. And my wife goes, "That is the most entertaining instrumental song I've ever heard." And I'm like, I know. And I'm like, yeah, there's no singing in it. It's just one of the most fascinating instrumentals ever made. Anyway, so yeah, Hemispheres, we talked about it already. We also talked about it when we ranked Rush. If you guys didn't see that, we did a 3-parter on. We covered a lot of 3-parter ground here because we had Judas Priest. We had
Black Sabbath.
No, I'm talking about like for this episode.
Oh, right.
We had Rush. We had what was the other 3-parter that was on here? Oh, Toto.
Kiss.
Kiss was a 3-parter. There was if you we've ranked all those bands. So if you're a fan of 70s rock music and you're interested, go back and listen to the rankings we did of those bands. A lot of them are not, if you're watching on YouTube, you don't get to see our faces, unfortunately, because we didn't start doing that until not even a year ago. I think we started doing the video all the time.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, we had this idea like, oh, it's going to be a podcast. But then, all of a sudden people are watching it on YouTube, and it's like, well, you got to give them something to look at. So that's why
turned into a show.
They need to be able to see Eddie Sparxx because he's the, he's the eye candy. So,
and my glorious studio that is in the process of getting neater. It's getting there.
Yeah,
it's getting there.
I mean, it's great. I'm just happy that you have a space to do shit. Because that's how I felt. Because before, like, we didn't do a podcast together when I still lived in Austin, but I didn't have an office. It was a bedroom that my computer was in, and I did, there was nothing interesting to look at in the room. So when I moved here and all of a sudden had my own space and was able to build this out into this world that I'm in now, it was fantastic. But
awesome.
But yeah, that's 1978. We didn't really, there wasn't a whole lot of tangents in this episode. We were pretty we kept things pretty tight. But
yeah, we were pretty on it. Yeah.
But I mean, that happens when we're not really going in depth to talk about like why a particular album ranks above or below a different one. It's just like, man, we love these albums. And that's the whole episode. It's just like 1978, man, we love these albums.
Nice.
That's the
hell
whole...
yeah, we do.
So that brings us to the end of this 1978 ranking. As usual, if you're on YouTube, put in the comments what your favorite albums of 1978 are, and if you're listening to this as a podcast, don't be afraid to reach out via email, oldheadpodcast@gmail.com. And I, most of the time I try to respond, or if it's a interesting email, I might even read it on the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, that brings us to the end. Do you have any parting words for everybody about 1978 or about anything that's on your mind?
Yeah, it's yeah.
I mean, well said.
Oh, I got a few honorable mentions here.
Oh shit, yeah. I forgot. I don't have any honorables, but yeah, let's hear your honorable mentions for 1978.
I just, well, to be fair, it pretty much consists of just, I want to bring up the Gene Simmons and Peter Criss albums just real quick, because they have moments on them too. I definitely think Peter Criss. If I'm gonna pick either of the two, I'm gonna go for Peter's, because it is just so different.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of stylistically, I mean it's more of an R&B kind of rock record than it is. Gene went down a more soundtracky route, whereas Peter definitely decided, well, you guys are making rock albums, so I'm gonna make something kind of groovy. It's like, and it's I love that, like like all those sort of little synths he has on there.
Which is funny, like in hindsight, like all four albums just seem to fit their personalities very well, and so I wouldn't change a thing about any of them.
Just kind of rubs it in when people turn around and say, "Oh, that's why that album's for pussies." It's made by a cat.
Who said? Honestly, the only album
I didn't mean that.
the only album that didn't make my list that you didn't mention, that almost made my list, was the debut album from Devo, which is called "Are We Not?" Question: Are we not men? Answer: We are Devo, which is awesome. It's like such a fucking great record, and but it just barely fell outside everything to where I'm just like, yeah, I like it a lot, but it can't compete with all these other albums that I have on this list. But I think that's the only one that like we didn't mention. So go listen to Devo. Do it. What's that? That's not on that one. But
I know, but I like that riff.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. 1978. Woo! That's the end of it. So
that's us.
That thank you for joining us for another episode of Cranked and Ranked. We'll be back next week. Here's where we're going to do it. We won't talk about what we're going to talk about, but do you feel like it's going to be a band discography happening next week? You're put on the spot here, buddy.
It's funny because I'm trying to figure out as to whether or not we're doing an episode next week for certain reasons, because I have a gig perhaps somewhere in the country. But if I'm back in time, we can't promise an episode right now. But if we are back, we'll probably be doing something a little different.
Okay. Yeah. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. If I don't ever really like post anything about, hey, here a new episode's coming. So it's kind of like, hey, once Wednesday rolls around, if one doesn't come out, guess what? That means we didn't do one. But when we do, we're very happy that you join us. So thank you very much for coming along for our top album of 1978. And that's all we got. So as usual, I'm gonna throw it over to my man, Mr. Eddie Sparxx, to take us out.
Later, dude. Love isn't always later, dude. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Later, dude.